Hey, good evening, everybody. It's 7:05, Thursday, March 21st. Budget Committee meeting. We'll start with a roll call, starting with Guy.
Guy Karen?
Elizabeth DuBrul.
Joe Spurl.
Brian Lewis.
Diane McCarthy.
Liz Mitchell.
Lee Sperry.
Richard Fletcher.
Mark LeMay, Selectman's Rep.
Ruth Gage.
And Pete Georgiantis. Excused absences, I gave it to you, were Lisa, Shay Sennett, and Sonny. And Brian, I guess, is excused. Introduction of the new member. We introduced ourselves to Liz a little while ago. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Swearing in's been done. Now we have approval of minutes. Now, did you all get the minutes that Joanne sent out of needed to be approved? You just want to do them in one slot and you want to go through them?
I haven't had time to look through them.
Hey, Joe, did you look at them, or
I did.
did you have any corrections that you wanted to make? Brian?
I didn't look at him. I'm good with him.
I saw. Which ones haven't we done? How many do we have?
About 3 of them, I think, isn't there?
Well, that's why.
At least 10,
Okay.
maybe more.
10?
10?
This is all the ones I scanned and sent out.
Perhaps we might want to defer this to next
Well, I
week.
don't know how much, well, I guess we can, but you can defer that to the next minute. But we need to get those out of the way so we can move on. They, they've been posted as unapproved right now, right? Okay. So they're out there, they can be read, they just haven't been approved. They're not approved minutes. So we need to get that done. I mean, we kept putting it off.
Do you need me to scan them again? I can do that.
No, I think we probably will have
Madam,
them.
I just haven't had time to look at all of them.
Okay, is everybody okay with that? Next meeting for sure?
For sure.
Public comment? We don't have any. Old business, is there any old business to come before the committee? Elizabeth, you wanted to talk about what happened. Would that be a old business, or?
Oh, I just kind of threw it out. We don't have to.
Well, I mean, you brought it up. Obviously, you must think it's.
Well, I mean, I would just rather not. They say that the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So before we invest all this time next year, maybe we should try and figure out what we could do differently to get different results.
You got any ideas?
Different
Not
than what?
particularly. Well, it would be nice if both of our budgets, if the budgets that we spend so much time preparing, it would be nice if they both passed. And if they are not passing, then we need to, I think particularly on the school side, they haven't had a budget pass in a long time. I think we need to think about what we need to do differently because what we're doing now isn't working.
When you say we, are you saying we as a community or we as a budget committee?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it that carefully, Peter.
Well,
I would
mean,
say
that makes
I would
a big
say we as a
difference.
budget
I mean,
committee. I would say we as a budget committee because I would think the idea would be that we would put forward something that the public would support. The public did not support it, therefore maybe we should rethink our approach.
Okay.
Somehow or other, we have got to get to the community. And the turnouts at the public hearing and the deliberative session and everything was low, very low. And we've got to get more people to pay attention and come to when everything is being explained, rather than sitting back home and not paying any attention to it and then going in the ballot booth and voting no.
Guy?
Maybe the flip side to that is that we're not listening to the community.
Well, that's kind of my point.
They're sending us a clear message year after year, at least on the school side. So maybe we need to sharpen our pencils a little bit if we want them to vote yes on what we present them. It's my 2 cents.
Ruth, go right ahead.
I understand what Mark is saying, but I don't totally agree.
I mean, Guy.
Guy, I'm sorry. It's been a long 2 days for me in Concord. You've got to excuse me. For some reason or other, they went along with the town side. That was not a problem. And both of those budgets this year, in my opinion, were cut to the max. I can't imagine where we could have cut anything else. And we cut so much out of that school budget that it was really, I think, kind of embarrassing that we had to cut so much. But we had to do it. And I thought we were going to win the people over. But we didn't. So, I don't know. I don't understand. Because I think we gave them the bottom line budget as best as we could.
We say we got to get more people involved and more people out. Okay. You're assuming that the more people you get involved and the more people you get out are going to change the vote.
Well, at least they...
Let me finish, okay? If you got the same sampling, no matter if it was 1,000 or 5,000, that wouldn't have changed the vote. It's the same sampling of people. That doesn't make the difference. It's not the budget committee's job to sell the budget. It's the budget committee's job to come up with a budget and say, this is the budget we put forth. Okay? It's the school department's job. The selectmen did a great job. Okay? They gave you items out there that said there weren't going to be any cost to it. All right? It wasn't $1 something or $1.40 to the taxes. So there's a difference in numbers. When people look, and it's not just this year, it's last year and the year before that and the year before that. A discussion I had at the end of the night when we finished tallying the votes with a school board member was, well, just put it forth again next year. I says, what sense does that make? He says, well, it takes 3 times. I said, that's not the attitude to take. It takes 3 times. Because that was the old days when you went to the gym and you raised your hand and there was a voice vote, and usually you could get stuff done. That doesn't happen anymore. People go to the polls and they vote. They vote with their wallets in a lot of cases. And the school, and Diane, this is no rap on the school itself, but because of the bad press it's gotten in the last couple of years, I just think they don't have any confidence. The people don't have the confidence to spend that kind of money and continue to say, okay, let's give them more money to fix the problem. Let's give them more money to fix the problem. Because it's, in a lot of cases, it's proven that just throwing money at the problem doesn't fix it.
Doesn't fix it, yeah.
Okay? So, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, that, you know, we did do our cut, but maybe we need to do something more than just, maybe there has to be a sacrificial lamb. Maybe we've just had that happen. Who knows? So, I mean, that's my take on it. Diane, I'm sorry, Mark was next.
I've listened to the comments here. For several years now, I've worked with the voting people in town voting, and this was my first year to work as a selectman. I tend to agree with Ruth that you see the same people all the time at town deliberative session. You see the same people voting. We have, 20,000 people better in town that are registered voters? I mean, we get less than 1% of the people that come out and vote.
How many registered? 7,800.
It's 10,000.
That's 10,000 now?
10,000, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Sorry for the
That's
number.
fine.
It was what, 19% was the voter turnout?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the voter turnout is so small. I tend to agree. If we were to get more people out, if we could get more people to come to the hearings and to the budget things, I think there would be a change. And not as a selectman, not as a member of this committee, but me here as a member of the town of Goffstown, I think it's time to go for a whole new school. Let's combine the 2 schools. Let's sell the Penardville property. Let's sell the Maple Ave property. Let's sell everything. Let's make one school, one brand new school. The kids in Penardville on Mast Road, I mean, they play in a playground that's asphalt. I mean, there's no place to play for the kids. I mean, they're in a hill. They're in, I mean, it's not a very nice place to have recesses as far as I'm concerned. Maple Ave, I mean, they got pretty decent places out back to play with, but I mean, those schools are so old. I mean, you could spend all the money you want, and I think, to me personally, as a citizen for the town of Goffstown, it's just a Band-Aid fix. Let's sell the property. Let's move on. We've tried 2 years on this solution. This solution has not worked. let's look for land, let's buy land and make a brand-new school, big enough, and with all of the modern facilities so that we're good to go. I mean, that's just my 2 cents as a person who lives in this town of Goffstown, you know? And I've heard that mentioned several times.
I was gonna say, that's not the first time I've heard that mentioned.
Okay, Joe?
Oh, I was going to say, I remember, if I recall, last year, I remember Scott Gross saying we had to narrow the gap between the proposed budget and the default budget to have a chance of getting the proposed budget to pass. And I seem to recall him mentioning a number of $200,000 as an upper limit. But we had a much bigger gap than that on the school side, but not on the town side. The town budget passed, the school budget didn't. So, I mean, it seemed to me he was right, and he anticipated the voters' reaction correctly. And maybe in retrospect, it was a mistake not to take that $200,000 for the middle school roof out of the school budget. And I know the school board had reasons for doing it the way they did. There were pros and cons on both sides, but just looking forward to next year, maybe that's what we need to really zero in on, is that gap between the two. If you ask for too much, you end up getting nothing. So try to keep that gap as small as possible.
But that does, in the same vein, does that gap, if it's small enough, is it taking care of the needs? You know, there's an issue there. You know,
Right.
you're
Right.
assuming that, okay, well, if it's only $200,000, they're going to get $200,000 more than they would have got if they got a default budget. I don't know if that's the way to really approach it, but I mean, it is an idea that we can consider when the time comes. I think I think some of the issue still comes from the state. And I think the state needs to get back on their horse and give, pitch in.
And they are trying,
I had a,
brick by brick. It's going to be slow.
I had a chat with Chris Pappas. Everybody know who Chris Pappas is? Okay, and he was telling me some of the ideas of the governor, and he offered to come in and speak with us and tell us what some of the plans are on, that the governor has for the next in the next budget. If you guys are interested in having him come in, I don't, it's up to you. I don't mind calling him and asking him. It was his suggestion to give you some insight of what the state's doing as far as from the governor's office.
I think that's a great idea.
But that's up to the group if they want to take the time and listen to him. Doesn't have to be just for us too. We can ask other people. I don't know. Would you be interested in listening to him? You think? So,
I think we're on, just kind of wrap this up. I mean, I think you really hit the nail on the head, that it's a lack of confidence. And I'm not, you're right. Do we have a responsibility or a role to play in restoring people's confidence? Maybe, maybe not. And I also, I mean, I think everything everybody has said is correct. I think maybe we could restore confidence in the budget if we really looked at some of the elephants in the room in these budgets and saw what can we really take out, and made some more hardcore suggestions. Maybe go places where people don't want to go, but at least throw them out there. And I don't know. It's very frustrating me. I think it's frustrating to everybody to spend a lot of time on something and then have it get voted down, and you think, well, what am I doing this for? If nobody has confidence in the budget, school budget, then why do we spend all these hours going through it? Let's just do whatever because they're going to vote it down anyway.
and that's been, you bring that up, a few years ago, and I don't know if you guys were here, somebody said, let's just cut 10% out of the budget, and that was their idea, but Diane sits over there and says, okay, tell me where. And that's their job, and that's her prerogative to say, you want to cut 10 points? Show me where. Don't say just cut 10%, show me where to cut it. Okay? And then let's remember, as you say, well, you got to, get to the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room, we don't have control of. We have control of the bottom line.
Right.
That, once we get to the bottom line, that's it. They do what they want with the money. The town side, the same as the school side. If they say that elephant that you want to get rid of, it stays, it stays. So, you can only go so far in that. Guy?
Just to help conclude this, what Liz said about the elephant in the room, I'm with her. You got to understand that the voters, I know a lot of people who went in the voting booth, and they kept in mind that they have been voting down the school budget year after year, and they're not only getting by, they're getting money back. So is the budget we proposed inflated? In their eyes it is. Is the default inflated? In their eyes it is. So let's find a place where we can really make some cuts so that the areas that are really needed are addressed, and the voter will go, now this makes sense. And then, when a bond comes up, the confidence in the school district has been revitalized, okay? Perhaps the school district should have tried to get one instead of both at one shot. You know, that's a big nut to chew, the 14 mil. Maybe we could have found another way. I know that the overall cost might have been more, but could we have sold 7 instead of 14? Who knows? Would the voters have bit? I don't know. But when it comes to the actual budget, a lot of people are going in this, they're doing fine on the default, and I'm getting money back. Why am I going to give them this extra for all the perks? And I think that's how they look at it. I'm not saying that's how it is, but I think that's how the voters look at it.
And I meant, when I said the elephant in the room, I meant both budgets, frankly. I meant the town and the school, because I got to tell you, for me, the town budget is what kept me up at night, trying to decide if I was going to be able to support it or not. And, I mean, I did, but there are still things that this year maybe I'm going to want to look at them a little more closely.
Drink more caffeine.
Diane, go ahead.
Just a couple things to speak to, just most directly, Guy, you were talking about going to 1 instead of 2 as it pertains to the bond.
I heard that from a lot of people.
As far as the schools, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you clearly. Go to do one school and at one time and not the other. Is that what you were
That's
saying?
what a lot of
Because
people...
we just had that one bond up.
Right.
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same topic. I was on the committee that made the decision to do the 2 back when the Elementary Facilities Review Committee, the committee that was put together to try to decide what the best way is to go about addressing the renovation issues in the school. It was like the second form of the committee, if you want to get beat to death by committees. We were definitely looking at the most inexpensive way possible.
And it's combining the 2.
But also what happens with that is we put them together because if you remember from the public hearing, Maple gets renovated, they keep the trailers in town.
Right,
The
right.
kids from Bartlett swing over, because don't forget, the plan was to completely demolish the old portion of Bartlett, and that was for cost efficiency. That was so it wasn't a Band-Aid, because it got to be where, yes, the 1922 building is a treasure, but it just was not cost effective to try to keep bandaging this in. So that's what that was.
I understand.
You kind of couldn't do one without the other.
But the alternative, I understand that if you do them separately, it's going to be a lot more money. But what I was hearing from people is, why are they trying to do 2 at once? Maybe that message that it's less expensive to do the 2 now didn't get out to them, because nobody brought that up to me. They just said, why are they trying to do both at one time? Why don't they just do one or the other? And I'm thinking, because this is cheaper to do it this way. But
It is cheaper.
these people didn't understand that. So
Right.
maybe
They
other
didn't
than
understand
a...
how that was all going to work.
Yeah, instead of a vote yes on Article, whatever it was, 2,
Yeah,
maybe,
Article 2.
look at what the selectmen did. They ran letters to the editor week after week, not only explaining what they were hoping was going to get passed, but the reasons why they were asking for it. And I don't remember, maybe you guys did,
We did.
I don't remember seeing anything that explained, hey, I know it's a big nut, but if we do it separately, it's going to cost us twice this.
We have the committee for that, which I wasn't on this year because I was sitting here, doing their very best to spearhead that. I wrote a letter, but it was regarding the area agreement. I'm not going to make excuses for us. We didn't write a lot of letters to the editor. I think we did the best that we really could do given what we were dealing with. And that it was one heck of a year with a lot going on for all of us in several different ways. But as it pertains to that, I think we have a combination of things going on. I think we don't have enough understanding. I don't know that we have enough information. I actually know somebody who voted no on everything and did not know that they were voting no on the area agreement. Like, you voted no on the area agreement? What? That was on there? Like, didn't even read. So that's, one of those. It's I had other things to speak to, and I apologize because they're going now. So we'll come back.
Okay, I want to bring up one thing.
Yeah.
and it's kind of been bugging me, and I didn't say anything before. I was really disappointed that the Budget Committee heard the proposal the night of our public hearing.
Which proposal?
The building.
Oh,
We had never had a presentation on it. Before our public hearing, it was handed out the night of our public hearing on the school without us ever seeing it,
and it really wasn't our presentation.
you know, and we went out there blind. I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned, I was pretty disappointed with that.
I'm not defending it. I won't defend that necessarily. I understand. We really dragged our feet with the decision of whether or not to move forward with it. We knew that it needed to be done. We also understand the climate that we're in, and the board continuously tabled the decision as to whether or not to actually put it forward on the ballot. We kept saying we support it, but we never went, it was the 11th hour.
Yeah, our meeting was our public hearing was on Tuesday night. You guys approved it the Monday night before. The Budget Committee never saw a thing on it. Next thing you knew, you went to a public hearing, and then the flyers were on the desk.
What is this?
Some of the other problem, is a Dumbarton, are they going to stay here, are they going to go? It's going to change the tax rate.
Now, they're gone now.
The other thing was what was going on at Mountain View. And then just before everything, the superintendent, is getting done. That didn't help matters at all.
No, it's like I said, public
and the other
relations
thing
was
I'd
the
like
whole
to say,
thing.
I've been in a good many of them public hearings, the deliberative sessions, and the public hearings, and the turnout that Ruthie speaks about is about the same. And it's the deliberative sessions are probably about the same, and so isn't the public hearing that we have. There's not that many people coming out. Now, only thing I can say is there's too much going on in the town, and there's too many people that are just getting home from work at 6 o'clock. That's a deterrent. I've heard that. I can't make it. I'm going to be late. And the voting, the turnouts, when you look at the turnout for the voting from year to year, when it's an election year for a president of the United States, it's twice as many. But when it's just a town election, it's, 2,500. Out of all the voters that vote, it's half of them, probably.
I don't know whose decision it is, but ultimately it must be our decision. If we were to hold a public hearing on a Saturday and see if it would make a difference. I mean,
It is our decision.
it's our decision.
Something with the RSA, but if we come within.
It comes with that
Certain
time
time
frame.
frame, yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you think, that's the thing we ought to do, then we'll, next year we can vote on it later on to say, hey, we want to do it on a Saturday and see if it makes a difference.
But the Budget Committee, from years to years to year, has come up with a budget. They've cut things, they've added things, they've let things stay, and at the end is a figure. And the townspeople vote on it. That's what they want. Who can we, change the budget, raise the budget, lower the budget? If the town peoples want it, they'll vote for it. If they don't, they're going to turn it down. So what can we really do to make them change their mind? It's a matter of dollars and cents when they got to take it out of their pocket. And you hear that all the time. That isn't always the case to vote on a new school, because we need a new school, but it's coming out of their pocket, and they got to pay for it forever, till it's paid for. And they're the ones that have the final say.
Brian? I'm sorry, Dick.
We can do all we want.
The Budget Committee, I don't think it's our job to increase voter turnout, which was, in my mind, was poor. I think it's really up to the departments to sell it. It's a sales pitch. I mean, the selectmen, I thought, like you said, did a good job getting in the papers. But I think we should concentrate on the budget and I think the department should be doing the sales pitch. I mean, I agree with everyone here.
I can remember one time when we had the public hearing was the deliberative session we had at Parks and Rec, because the turnouts were so slow. We had it there one time,
Yeah.
So it's traditionally been a low turnout, but that's why I suggest maybe the budget committee, in order to get the numbers out, can have it on a Saturday, maybe they would get more of a turnout. I don't know.
People read the headlines, and that's a lot of opinions are steered by the headlines, and they don't even read the body of the actual article. So, I mean, it's up to...
And it's a hard thing to pass a bond issue, because it isn't up. It isn't, if you get one vote over, you got to meet that, what is it,
Oh, yeah.
3/5 or whatever. That's a hard thing to do.
60%.
And they've changed that from what it used to be.
It used to be 65%, or 66%. Now you have 60%.
The only thing I wanted to say is that remember when we wrote that letter about revenues? And like at the very end of it, it says, we look forward to bringing you more communication. And I said, are we actually going to do this? And we said, oh, yeah, we will. And we never did. We didn't do it.
Well, the selectmen were putting stuff in
Well,
the paper on a regular basis.
I agree that we should not be selling the budget. That's not our job. But I do think, I think next year we should think about one notice, press release, whatever you want to call it for the town, one for the schools that said, this is how much we cut, these are the things that we cut, and these are the new things that stayed in. And that's it. They're strictly informative, and have that be one for each side, and that's all.
Beat this to death, or we want to continue on?
We're pretty dead.
Yeah.
I think it's dead.
Let's move on to new business, which would be the election of a chair and a vice chair.
I'm going to nominate you, Mr. Georgianis,
I second that.
to maintain your position of authority and management.
Authority and management.
I'm sure after a year you've now
facilitator.
streamlined your approach and become even more efficient than you were last year.
Yeah, efficient. I don't know about that. Any other nominations?
I make a motion nomination cease.
What?
Nominations are closed, is what she's asking to.
Oh, I thought we were going to throw Lisa's name in there.
And I'll make a motion that after the nomination ceases, the clerk casts one ballot for Judge Ennis.
You all familiar with what he just did?
No. Lost
I
me.
didn't even hear him.
Translator?
Okay, what that means is that it's a unanimous vote. Each just casts one vote. And that's,
The clerk to cast one vote for Judge, there's nobody else running.
all in favor
Of
of his motion?
two.
Yeah,
Elect him.
elect me.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, so we need to get a vice chairman. Guy did a great job last year, so I would nominate Guy.
I second.
All in favor?
Close nomination.
Close nominations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so Guy and I will
Soldier on.
steer the ship again.
You know, though, Peter, I think you should feel perfectly free to speak out as much as you want.
I mean, I
I
don't.
think he has.
I don't think he has.
Don't
I
hold
don't
back,
think he has.
I did a little bit last year, retained, didn't speak out as much as I probably should have, but I think I'll probably be a little bit more vocal. I'd like to just quickly pass this around, just make sure your information that is on the view that is right. And then,
Anyway.
yeah, that's a good idea. We want to do the committee assignments, too. What's the best way? How we
We all
done
get
that?
copies of this when it's,
Yeah, when it's done, yeah.
because a lot of times, like, I don't know how to reach people, and
Yeah, but I don't
Got that
know,
last
we
year, didn't
don't,
we?
I don't remember getting it last year.
Yes.
I thought we had a list
Yeah.
of all the members.
but we didn't have, we don't have the selectmen's rep yet, school board rep.
Okay. Oh,
Are you
Mark's
permanent,
not doing
Mark?
it?
No, let me,
You wait until Collis gets back?
Collis is away on business. He is unavailable. Nick is unavailable tonight. Majority of the board was tied
Tied
up.
up.
So I just basically said, I'll fill in for tonight. We are hoping Monday night to make all our decisions. So I'm just a sit-in for tonight.
Okay.
All right, I'm sure everybody's got access to email, so what I would ask you to do is send me an email with 3 departments that you'd be interested in doing.
In order of priority?
Yes,
Or
please.
preference?
Order of preference.
Okay.
Liz, did you understand what I know you,
So send you an email in regards to the different committees, and I'm not aware of like the different.
okay, what happens is we assign a person or persons to different departments. And that person on a monthly basis comes back to us and reports. This is, you know, I
Including
met-
the schools, right?
Yes,
Including the schools and the SAU, right?
Right, and then the schools are broken up between the different schools too.
So you
The
have,
high school,
you
the
have
middle school.
Bartlett School, the high school, Maple Ave, Mountain View, Glen Lake. Those would be your schools.
So you would meet with either the fire chief or the principal at Bartlett.
Right.
Before, sometime between the last meeting and the next meeting, and then when we get together, anything that they want to put forth that we should know about, you'd report to the committee.
Something that's out of the ordinary expense that's come up, they may want to discuss with you and say, I had to do this or do that, you know.
So just send Pete your three, in order of
And-
preference, what you, between the town and the school, can be.
You have in the school, on the town side, there's administration, there's Parks and Rec, DPW, police, fire,
Library.
and library.
Now, isn't the SAU combined with
Glen Lake.
with Glen Lake? So SAU and Glen Lake are one. Did you elect a vice chair,
Yes.
Keith? Okay.
Are you going to give those back to Kathy, or you want me to give them back to her?
You can give them back to me. That's
I'll give
fine.
'em back to
You'll probably be here before I will.
Yep, okay.
Anybody want to volunteer for CIP?
Oh, that's right.
I heard you speak up.
No, I said we lost Ivan. That's all I said.
I thought Elizabeth said she wanted.
No, I did not. I most definitely did not.
Come on, come with me. I'll be on. I want to sit back on the CIP committee this year.
No.
Brian, you're hiding over there. What's the story? That was Brian Fournier volunteered? Okay.
Brian
That was Brian
Fournier.
Fournier for CIP?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
We'll let them know.
That's a summer thing, so he won't have a problem with it. He won't miss his snowmobiling then.
You just got volunteered for CIP.
Watch it. You don't hear the language that comes out of that thing sometimes.
Oh, no, this, I won't let it talk.
Okay. So let's get back to Chris Pappas. We want to have him come in.
I think that'd be a great idea.
And who is he, Pete? Is he a
Chris
state
Pappas,
rep?
he's executive counselor to the governor.
Executive council?
He sits on the executive council, so.
Okay.
I think it would be interesting. I just wonder when would be the best time, like before. I don't know the whole timeline for the state budget.
The state budget will be, they're working on it now, and we're just getting into the nitty-gritty of it. And it'll be the end of June before they have finalized it.
Because I kind of like to know once the budget is finalized, what's going to come. Then I get worried that if we get the information too early and then it doesn't actually materialize, then it's going to be confusing. You know,
I
that
would
something was
agree.
proposed and then it didn't happen, and
I would agree, except for one reason. The only reason I wouldn't agree is that I would like to have input. I'd like to know in detail what's happening with the state budget, which is hard to do, isn't it?
Well, it's because it's such a mishmash.
Yeah.
There's 3 divisions to it, and I think Division 1 is the division that the towns and stuff are in. I can keep as much of an eye out as I can. We're supposed to be getting it next week, parts of it. And we had a meeting today about it, and they said they would be bringing us parts of it next week.
But if you wanted to get your input on it, how would you do? Would you wait till it's done, then try to get input into it?
no. I mean, if that's the point is to give input to influence the way this goes, then do it earlier.
What do you
Go
think,
to the
Don?
meeting.
I'd like to see.
Go to the
Yeah.
budget meetings.
Well, that's easy to say when you're retired, but when you're working
Yeah, well,
every
for
day.
instance, they had, I think it was 5 different places in the state. The closest one to here would either be Nashua or Concord. I guess Concord's closer. But they had those for the public to go and give their suggestions and requests and so on. But they're all done with them. So now but they have, gone back and started kind of putting it together and going over what the House is going to present in comparison to the governor's budget, we have her budget. Now it'll be the House budget, and then however way that gets voted up or down, it's going to go over to the Senate. They're going to have their say in it, and they're not going to agree with us on everything, so it's going to go to a committee of conference.
Guy.
My preference would be, I mean, we don't deliberate on our own budgets until the fall. The two governing bodies are going to start on them, this summer. I'd rather wait until the budget from the state is finalized and so that we know exactly how it's going to affect anything coming from Concord or not coming from Concord to us after it's done. I don't really have much interest right now since we can't do anything about it. And we don't know how it's going to affect us until after, what is it, June 30? Is that, or is it June 1?
June 27th, I think, is the last day. But the governor's budget is done.
Yeah, but the
what
governor's
he would-
budget,
We want to know what she's trying to do.
I'm not interested.
That's what Chris wants to
because
talk about. I
I'm more
think.
interested in the black and white, because what she's trying to do may not get through the legislature or the Senate. So I'd rather spend my time when I've got solid numbers, here's what we're going to get from the state or what we're not going to get from the state. And that's, so, I mean, it's up to you guys,
So
but.
that's going
So
to be.
if, like Chris and I were talking, and he says, well, in the governor's budget, they're trying to restore building aid.
Yeah.
Okay? So I want to I want that information so I could say to Ruth and whoever else, John, and that, hey, try to incorporate the building aid back into our budget. Don't, all these cuts didn't come from the governor, they come from our own people.
Okay, but you're speaking as a private citizen, though.
Absolutely.
I'm from a budget committee hat, I'd want to see, did they restore it or not?
Exactly. I understand what
So,
you're saying.
do we want to do this, have Chris in early during a budget committee meeting, or do we want to do it outside of a budget committee meeting and listen to what he has to say? I don't know.
And that's why I brought it up.
But the finance committee must have meetings all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And the meetings are on the budget, and it's open to the public, and the public can testify. So you or anybody else can go there and testify what your thoughts are about that budget. And the finance committee is going to listen to you. Whether they're going to agree with you or not, that's another story. But if enough people say, we don't want you to cut building aid, it might have some weight when they vote in the committee not to cut the building aid. And then it will go to the legislatures in the budget.
So I guess the consensus is then let's wait until there's a budget and then see. Then it's not the governor's budget, it's ever the budget that,
From this committee's perspective, that seems to make sense.
all right, it's up to you guys.
And after it goes through that process with the House, it goes to the Senate, and the Senate has hearings. So you can go to them public hearings and testify.
Any information in the meantime that I can get, I will certainly bring back.
Peter, to be safe, that probably won't happen until sometimes after June. Right?
Yeah.
Probably in September, because we don't meet in the summer.
It'll-
No, that's fine. Yep. I just notes for the.
It's an offer that he made to come in and talk to us and tell us about the governor's budget. And I said I'd bring it before the committee, that's all. So, it doesn't really, I want all the knowledge I can get though, because if you want to cut like you're talking about or make adjustments like you're talking about, then we need to know. We need to know what we're going to get from upstairs before we can do anything.
I mean, just as that made it tough this year. I mean, for the school budget, we're looking at 500,000 just from the state, just downshifting. That really challenged both budgets. It wasn't an increase in programming, it wasn't an increase in salary, it wasn't an increase in anything. It was just an increase in flat costs.
Downshifting the cost from the state, that's what it was. I think we mentioned it, I know I mentioned it a few times, so. Anything else? Anything else anybody need? Liz, you got any questions?
Not so far.
Not so far?
Pretty clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Just wait.
Clear as mud, right?
Right.
Clear as mud, that's right. Lee, you made a motion or what? You made a motion?
The next meeting.
We're going to talk about our next
Yep.
meeting?
Huh?
Are we going to talk about our next meeting? I think
Before
Joanne
it's
and I
on
are
the-
like, we're giving Guy the stereo treatment here.
It's it's posted on the agenda for 4/18.
Can I put out a query?
query.
Do we need to have a meeting every month when we're sort of in the off-season?
The off-season is the summer.
Well,
Next
but
month, we got to do our
Minutes,
Assignments.
minutes and our assignments.
and then go home.
So
for me
full-
personally, I think like meeting like in May and then not meeting again until September would probably be,
So you're trying to do away at the
Sufficient.
June meeting?
yeah, in the April meeting.
So Peter,
I disagree with that.
Okay.
Only reason, I'll tell you why. I mean, it's simple. It's, we got to start forming, you got to go and find expenses and start talking to the people and getting the information. You know, now, the school asks for money for asbestos abatement. Now, how do you know, when you're going to go in and check that out, see if it's, how that's going along? Projects like that they've asked for, you want to know if it's happening. Or if it doesn't happen, they take that money and they use it for something else, which they do. They have the ability to do. Then next year when they say, well, we need some asbestos abatement in Bartlett because it's coming up, you can say, well, you used that money for this. So,
Okay.
so we've changed the meetings then to Thursdays?
yes,
Okay. I
Regularly?
didn't,
yes.
I didn't know that. Thursdays.
It was a problem for some people on Tuesdays.
Third Thursday of every month?
Yes.
I missed that memo. Must be with the
Ryan.
minutes.
I will not be here on that Thursday.
The next month?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm scheduled.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody, the Thursday? Liz and
Yeah,
Elizabeth?
yeah, I'll go along.
Yep,
Yep.
definitely.
Okay. Just want to check. Anything else?
Motion adjourned?
Seconded by Lisa Perry. Meeting's adjourned.
All in
All in favor?
Aye.
Blame a girl for trying.